when Coach said, "Hey, we're not even going to have a defensive players of the week or anything like that," because it was.
It wasn't a bad reaction by anybody on the team. We knew what we did. Like, we knew how the game went. It wasn't our best game. So nobody was really overwhelmed or anything like that. We knew what we had to get done, and we didn't complete that job fully.
What do y'all have to do moving forward to be the kind of defense that y'all want to be and can be?
Continue to communicate at a high level. That's really what it takes. As long as we communicate at a high level and really bond together as one as a defense, I think we'll be fine.
You were really productive in that game. Do you feel like you played as well as your statistics indicate that you did?
You always feel like you play well, and you always want to feel like you play well. So I will say I played well, I would say, but I wouldn't say to the team standard. We didn't get it really done on defense, so I would say I played an okay game.
How would you say your season individually has gone, and just the way that, or some of the things that you've done well this season?
My season, my season hasn't, I wouldn't say it's been a bad season, but it hasn't been a great season either. But, it's kind of still in the middle, so it could grow from here.
Coach Elko said that he talked to you guys yesterday, kind of gave a tough message to the defense. What was kind of said in that, and how well do you think you guys?
It was kind of a real message. He just kind of kept it real with us. Like, we didn't have the game that we should have had, but it is what it is. He gave us a real message, something that we needed to hear, not what we wanted to hear.
He talks about games after you guys already had tough practices, but did they crank up at all after a performance like that, or is it kind of the same?
We stay the same, so it's same practice. It's the practice isn't what makes makes the game, but we do try to crank it up in practice. That's the natural human reaction. You have a bad game, you crank it up in practice. So it's been pretty cranked up in practice this week.
Dalton, when you consider your personal performance this year, what do you feel like you're doing really well, and are there any things that you can look at and say, okay, this is what I want to get better at?
For me, I want to grow as a communicator. I want to be more of a leader on the defense, make more of a stand. When all 11 is out there, everybody's looking at me. I'm the safety. I got to make big decisions for the defense, so I want to be able to do that with more confidence.
From a defensive standpoint, what's the biggest difference in preparing for Taylor Green compared to a quad passer like Garrett Nussmeier?
Taylor Green, he's a runner, and Nussmeier, he's more of a smarter quarterback. He could read the defense more, things like that, and he's a good quarterback. So if you give him the look, he'll take the easy shots every day.
Was Elko more heated than usual when he was talking to you guys?
He was. I wouldn't say he was more heated, but he was level. He kept it real with us. It wasn't him going over the top. He was just giving us a real message.
How correctable do you think the mistakes y'all have are? Like, how easy do you think it'll be to correct them?
Oh, very easy. It was on us. It wasn't anybody like in particular. None of that. It was just the whole defense as a whole. So we come together. We talk about it as a defense, as players. We talk about it as coaches and players, and we fix it.
Good on good. What's it like going against Ashton Bethel-Roman, and how has he developed this season?
Oh, I'd love to see Ashton develop. I was here when he first got here, and to see him develop into what he has, it's great. It's great to guard him because you get real game speed.
Taylor Green was really successful, spinning away from the rush. But why wasn't he able to get away from you on that last sack?
That's what we talked about all week. He does the spin out, so we talked about doing the spin out. I missed my first sack in the first quarter, and he spun out on me. And you just got to go on as the game goes on. You got to build and grow throughout the game, and that's what we did.
So you're anticipating him using that move? Okay.
You flashed a lot in the run game. Obviously, your run blitzes and timing those up well. What about this scheme, and maybe what about that style of play fits you so well?
I love to tackle. I've come from a hard-nosed team in Shiner. That's what we did. We ran the ball, and we played man-on-man defense and ran and hit. So that's what I like to do, and being in this defensive scheme, it puts me in that position a lot.
You mentioned how you want to grow as a leader and communicator. Just how much do you think you've had to do that more, especially with Bryce having been out these last few weeks?
It's been different, as him being the older guy, and then me kind of being the next up older guy, I just stepped up into the role, and it just kind of feels natural, being that this is my second year kind of actually playing, it kind of feels more natural now.
What's your message to the 12th man who was some members who were concerned about the defensive performance last week?
We're going to get it right. We're going to get it right. Don't worry, we're going to get it right.
As a strong safety, you're going to get to see a lot of Trey screen. What's the biggest challenge to stopping a 6'7" tight end that can line up in the slot in the wide receiver spot?
You got to execute your job, on defense. We got a plan for it, and we just got to execute that plan, and then we'll stop them.
Going off what you said earlier, but it seems like you have been really effective with the blitzes, runs, and when they're throwing it. Just how much do you enjoy that? How much do you think your speed it makes you better?
You know, knowing the scheme and knowing what you're supposed to do before the play helps you play fast. And I think that's where I've kind of grown my game and knowing like what our scheme is, what's the purpose of our plays, and I think that's what helps me play fast.
You think that's kind of your special play or special thing? Like,
yeah, I love to hit. So that anytime I get to go run and hit, that's fine with me.
How much is that schemed up, and how much is that just like your football IQ to be able to time that up and hit the hole correctly?
You know, it's all timing. You know, we watch everything. So we watch quarterback mechanics, we watch things like that, and you know, we time it up off of stuff like that. And once you kind of dial in on that and you get it down, then that's how you get the timing right.
You mentioned how you love to run and hit. Just when you were growing up, you know, at what age did you really start, you know, really loving that? Maybe physicality and
the physicality, I would say probably around, I started when I was 5, and I probably started loving physicality around 8. Yeah, so it took a few years. But then once I did, it was nonstop from there.
Playing against 8-year-olds where you make anybody cry and stuff like that?
No, I was a smaller kid at 8. Okay. Yeah, I was a smaller kid at 8.
You got an older brother too, right?
Yeah, I have an older brother, yeah.
How much did maybe he influence you loving that?
He influenced it a lot. You know, seeing him, how he used to toss people around and stuff, it kind of made me feel like I could somewhat do it. So I would try it here and there. The tossing people wouldn't work, so I figured if I could just use my speed and hit somebody, that's how I would get it done.
Can you toss him?
Oh, no, can't do that. Can't do that.
How big's your brother?
My brother's about 6 foot, 250. Yeah, pretty big dude.
How are you a different player now than your first couple of years ago?
I would say I'm more confident. You know, when I got here, it was kind of a surprise to me, honestly, coming from a small school, like all the speed, all the talent, which I knew was going to be here. But I would say I'm more confident in myself and knowing the game plan of what we're doing.
This is a team that feeds off of kind of that negative energy when you go on the road, that likes kind of being the villain a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that. We always say we're bringing our 74. You know, we're 74 strong. So the 74 that come with us is going to be the 74 that go in the stadium and the same 74 that leave. And we like to think like that. You know, it's going to be 100-some thousand people in there, and it's going to be us 74 on the sideline having to battle that whole 100,000.
You talked about cranked up practices, but right after Notre Dame, where you guys gave up 40 points, you guys had some great performances after that. You guys feel like you're capable of going on a similar run here?
Indeed, I feel like we definitely are. You know, we just have to do our part on defense. Everybody has to do their 111th, do their job, and we could do the same thing again.
What do you think it is about Coach Elko that's kind of what he's done to have this quick turnaround and kind of change what's been going on at A&M?
You know, it's discipline. You know, he's instilled discipline into the program, and I feel like that's the biggest thing, you know, for all college kids is discipline. So once he instilled that, it just got the ball rolling.